Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to talk about shaping the data using the Power Query Editor. Shaping the data refers to the process of transforming the raw data into a structured format that is suitable for analysis and visualization. This involves various tasks such as cleaning the data, filtering the data, restructuring, and enriching the data to make it more organized, consistent, and meaningful. Shaping the data ensures that it meets the specific requirement of the analysis or reporting objectives. In simpler terms, shaping the data involves the preparing it in such a way that it makes it easier to understand and work with, ultimately enabling the users to derive the valuable insights and make the informed decisions based on their data. This process lays the foundation for effective data analysis and visualization in Power BI, allowing the users to unleash the full potential of their data assets. So let's go to the Power BI screen and see how can we shape our data using the Power Query Editor. So before starting to shape our data, first we will start with how to open the Power Query Editor with the help of our Power BI screen. So over here, I am having this option of loading the data from any data source. So what I'll do is first I will click on Excel workbook because I'm going to load an Excel workbook. Then I will select my data set and click on open. Now this would open a dialog box for me, which would give me the preview of my data. Right now, our data set is having three sheets. So what I'll do is I will load these three sheets. And then you can see this options over here at the below part over here, which says load, transform the data and cancel. Over here, if you load the data, it means that your data is very clean. In that case, you can directly load your data to analyze it in Power BI. If it is not clean, what you can do is you can click on transform data. And if you click on transform data, it would open a separate window for you. And in that window, it would open the Power Query Editor. And there you can start shaping your data. So over here, you can see it has opened the Power Query Editor for us. Now, what I'll do is one by one, I'll tell you what are the different options you can do to shape your data. So starting with these tables over here. So the first table is the orders table where I have the specific order ID and all the other details that have been placed in that superstore. The next is the returns table, which consists of the orders which have been returned. Then I have the people's table, which basically gives me the idea of which region is handled by which person. So as you can see, like if I'm going in this people's table, it has multiple columns which have null values. And I can see that these columns are not the part of our specific data set. As I know I'm the working with this data set, so I know that these columns are not needed. So what I can do in that case is that first I need to just eliminate these columns from my data set in order to make it small or in order to reduce the items which are not needed in our data set. So for that, what we can do is we can go over here in manage columns and you can see I have these options of choosing the column and removing the column. If we talk about this choosing the columns, so if I click on it, and it gives you in two options. The first is of choosing the column, the other is of going to a column. Let's say if you're working with a very large data set which has too many columns. In that case, if you don't want to just scroll and go to that particular column, what you can do is you can go to this choose the column and it would give you the list of all the columns which are present in your data set. So here I can see that these are the five columns that are present in my data set. The first one is the persons, second is the regions, and the three columns are column 3, 4, and 5. So what I will do is I will just select these three columns for now, and it would give you all these three columns. So in that way, let's say if you want to keep these columns, you can particularly select these columns and it would keep only these three columns. But for now, I don't need these three columns. I need to remove these three columns. For that, what I can do is you can see that whatever steps you are choosing right now would be stored over here on the right hand side where it says applied step. So if we talk about applied steps a bit, we have already talked about it in the previous session, but again, I will give you idea of it. So whatever operations you are performing on the top of your data set in the Power Query editor, all these steps would be recorded over here in the applied steps. So you can see it says that I have removed the other columns. That means that I have not selected the other columns which are present in my data set and it has kept only these three columns. Now I want to undo this operation. For that, what I can do is if you can see that over here, just ahead of my applied steps, I have this option of deleting this particular step. So if I click on it, it would just roll back to the previous option I was in. So it has just deleted that particular step, which told it to remove those particular columns. Now, the next option over here is go to column. So if I click on this go to column, and if I click on, let's say, column 3, so then you can see that now column 3 has been selected. That means it would help me to skip to that particular column and select it. Now, This would be very useful for you when you're working with a large data set and you know that you have some operations to perform in a specific column. At that time, you won't be scrolling too much. You can just go in the choose columns option and you can choose that specific column that you want to work in. Then we have this remove columns option. What it does is it removes a particular column from your data set. So right now I want to remove this column from my data set. So what I can do is I can go over here and click on this and it would give me again two options. The first one is remove the columns. The second one is remove other columns. So let's say if you want to remove these three columns, what I will do is I will select this column first. I will press shift and I will select this last column. So these are the three columns that I want to remove. I can go in this remove columns option and I will click on remove columns and it would remove these columns for me. The next way to do this is that you can just undo this step. Now let's say if I select these two columns, persons and regions. Now I again click on this remove columns option and this time I'm choosing the other option which says remove other columns. So what it would do is it would not delete persons and regions, but other than that, whatever columns would be present in your data set, it would be remove those columns. So I'm choosing this remove other columns option and it would remove that particular columns from my data set. Now this particular table looks pretty clean to me. Then I will go in this returns table. In this return table, again, I have got this information. And again, you can see that I'm having few columns returned, order ID, market, which are important for me right now. Then I have these columns, which are column 4 and column 5, which basically contains null value. And I don't need them right now in my data set. So what I can do is I can select this column 4, press shift, press column 5. Then I will go in remove columns and I will use this option of remove columns. Then I will go in the orders table. Over here, you can see that I have got multiple columns which are related to the order ID and its information, when the order was placed, when it was shipped, which particular category did the order belong to, what was the customer's name, what was the segment of that particular customer, the city in which the customer is living, and all the geographical informations related to it, like state, country, postal code, market, region. Then I have the product ID, product category, the subcategory of the product, and at last I have this product name. Then I have some numerical columns in terms of sales, the quantity of items which was being sold, the discount which was given, the profit which I made on top of that particular order, the shipping cost that was involved. Then I have a categorical column known as the order priority in which the particular order was shipped. So right now I can see that there are multiple columns and these all are belonging to some different kind of categories. For example, this row ID is numerical data type. This order ID is alphanumerical data type. This order date is date data type. So over here, what I need to verify first is that all the columns that are present over here are following a specific data category or not. That means that it is having the correct data type or not. To understand the data types, what I can do is if I click on this 123 over here in front of this row ID, or you can click on any symbol which is just in front of any particular column name, you will be giving this information. So this information tells you that what are the particular data types that are present in Power BI and what is the particular data type of this specific column. So starting with this decimal number, let's say if your particular column is having decimal numbers in terms of, let's say, sales that it has been done. So it would be included in this decimal number. If it is in whole number, what you can do is you can select this whole number option. Right now, my row ID is in whole number option because it doesn't contain any decimal points. So over here, it is showing me the correct data type. Then I also have this fixed decimal number option. Let's say if you're working with currency and if you don't want to show it in decimal numbers, over here, you can show it in just fixed decimal numbers. Let's say if you're showing the currency in two decimal places, that would be very helpful for you. Now, let's say if you're working with a data type which is having a very precise number of decimals, in that case, you need to round it off sometimes, or let's say if you need to leave it sometimes, in that case, you need to have a specific decimal number at that point. So over here, you would be using this decimal number option in that case. Then we have the percentage option. So if you have any column and if you want to convert it into percentages, if you are showing marks, for example, and if you have done total of marks and at last you are showing the percentage of marks that particular candidate has achieved. So in that case, you will be using this percentage option. Then we have this date time option. So over here, you can see that I'm having this order date, but this order date consists only the dates on which the order was placed. The same is happening with the shipping date. Now it is not giving me a specific time on which the order was placed. If you want to see that specific time also, you need to have that particular column over here. And if it is not able to recognize that particular data type for that particular column, what you can do is you can click on this calendar icon and you can choose this date option or time option to show specifically the date or the time. And it would be having multiple other columns also if you're working with any other data set. Let's say if it is having some timestamp, in that case it shows you the time also and it shows you the date also. Now if you want to just keep the date for now, you will use this date option, and if you want to keep the time option, you will be using the time option over here. If you want to keep both of them, you can use this date slash time option. Then we also have this date, time, and time zone, which would be basically dealing with the time zones. Then we have the duration option. Now, let's say if you're working with a data set which is having the duration of something. For example, the videos I'm recording over here, I want to keep the track of those videos and I'm just keeping the track of them in minutes or seconds or hours. So you can use this duration options and it would be giving you the duration data type in that particular column. Then I have this text option. Now this text option you will be using whenever you are having this kind of data as order ID, because it is having the particular data in the alphanumeric format. The same would be happening with this categorical information over here. I'm having this shipping mode option, and over here in the shipping mode, I can see that all the data is in form of the text. So I'll be using this text data type, which is over here. Then let's say if you are using any binary field over here, and if your column contains some binary informations, so that time the data would be changed to this binary true or false format. So it would be basically giving you the Boolean information. Sorry, my mistake. It was Boolean information. So these are the particular data types that are present in the Power Query editor. And you need to verify whenever you are loading any data set that your particular column is having the correct data type or not. And if it is not having that particular correct data type, what you can do is, let's say if I want to change this row ID into text information, because I won't be using this row ID to summation of anything. I don't want to sum it or I don't want to multiply it with anything. So I won't be using it in the form of numbers. Rather than it, what I can do is I can use it in form of some text. So for that, what I can do is I can go over here in the row ID, click on this numerical information, and I will just use this text over here. Now it would give you another information that you want to change this column data type or not. So what you can do is you can just click on replace current option. And over here, you can see that it is giving me this applied step that I have just changed the data type of that particular column. So in this way, you can just verify the data type of your particular columns. And if they are not present in specific data type, you can change the data type. Other things what you can do is over here, you can see that right now I'm having this order date. So it is showing me the day, the month, as well as the year in which the order was placed. Now, in some cases, I don't want to deal with that specific month or the year. So what I can do is I can click on this particular data type, and over here, again, I will be getting many options to change that particular column. So over here, what I will do is I will just go in the transform option, and over here, I can choose this year option. So again, I will use this year option. Now you can see it has transformed my data and it has just keep the year part of it. It has removed all the other parts. So it has only kept that part. Now, if you want to remove that particular step, again, I will click on this applied step and I will delete this. Now you can do this and you can just keep the months also or the days also. So again, I will click on this. I will go in the transform option. I will go in this month option and I will say month. And it would only keep the month of that particular order for me. And it would be easy for me now to analyze that particular data if I just want to keep the month option. For now, I will remove this particular step. Now, some other options are also present in the shaping option. For example, if you want to keep some rows or if you want to remove some rows. Right now, I'm having thousands of rows in my particular data, and it is only showing me the particular preview of top 1000 rows. How do I know it? So if you come to this option where it says column profiling based on the top 1000 rows, we will be dealing with the column profiling in the upcoming session. So if I click on this, then it is giving me the other option as well, which is column profiling based on the entire data set. Now, what is the difference between these two is that right now it is just giving me the information of the top 1000 rows. But what if I want to deal with the entire data set? So in that case, I will be using this option of column profiling based on the entire data set. And why it is useful, we'll be talking about it in the upcoming session where we'll be talking about the column profiling options. So for now, I'm choosing this entire data set option. Now let's say that I don't want to keep all the values in the data set. I just want to keep the top 500 rows or the bottom 500 rows. In that case, what I can do is I will use in this reduce rows option. So over here, first I am having this keep rows option. So I will click on this keep rows and it is giving me the option of keeping the top rows, keeping the bottom rows, or keeping the range of rows. For example, if I choose the keep top rows option, if I click on it, it would ask me that how many rows do I want to keep. So this time, let's say I'm giving the option as 50. I have typed the value as 50 in number of rows and click on OK. So it would only keep the top 50 rows for me. If I just scroll down, you can see right now the value is coming to 50 and it is not showing me the other values. I will just quickly remove this option. Again, I will go in keep rows option and this time I'm select keep bottom rows option. I will give the value as 50, click on OK, and it would remove all the top rows and it would only keep the bottom 50 rows for me. If you just scroll down, you can see that it has kept the 50 rows, but these are the bottom 50 rows. Again, I will delete this step for now. I will go in the keep rows option and this time I can also select the range of rows. For example, I want to select the 100th row and till the 500th row. So I will give the values as first row value of 500, sorry, first row value of 101 maybe, and the last row value of 500. And it would only keep those middle 400 rows for me. So in this way, you can reduce your data and you can just keep the specific range of rows. Again, I will delete this option. Then if you want to keep the duplicates as well, you can go in this keep duplicates option. And if you have some errors in that particular row, which we'll be talking about in the column profiling option, you can keep the errors as well. Let's say if you want to rectify those particular errors and if you want to keep those errors, then you will be using these options and it would be only showing you the rows with some errors in them. Then the other way to do it is removing the specific rows from over here. If you don't want to keep it, the other way opposite of it would be to remove it. So if I just go in remove rows option, it would give you the options of removing the rows again. This time it is just showing me the exact opposite value of what it was showing in the keep rows option. First, I have removed top rows option. So it would be removing some top 100 rows, top 50 rows, whatever values they are giving in it. Then we have this removing of bottom rows, which would be removing the bottom part rows. Then I have remove alternate rows. Let's say sometimes whenever we are just importing the data, some alternate rows not show some good format. They are basically empty sometimes. So in that case, if your data is belonging to that category, if you have just extracted the data from web, so you can use this remove alternate rows, which would be removing those alternate rows. Then I have this remove duplicates option, which is basically removing the duplicate options from your data set. So how you can do it? Let's say if your data set is containing some duplicate values. Right now, my data set doesn't have any duplicate value. The best practice to do it would be selecting your entire data set. So what I'll do is first I will select this row ID. I will scroll towards the complete right part of this particular data set. I will select this order priority by selecting shift first, pressing shift on your keyboard and clicking on this order priority. Now it is selected the complete data set for me. Then I will go in the remove rows option and I will use this option of remove duplicates option. If my data set would be having any duplicate value, it would be removing those particular values for me. We will allow it some time and it has removed some duplicate values if your data has any duplicate values present. Quickly, I will just remove this step. Now, what would happen if I'm not selecting my entire data set? Now, let's say if you want to remove some duplicate values, but it is only based on some specific column. For example, right now, if I just talk about my shipping mode option, my shipping mode column contains too much values, but how many values does it exactly have? I don't know it. So I will select this arrow key and over here I can see that it contains some value as standard class, second class, same day shipping and first class. So now I want to remove these duplicate values over here and I only want to keep these four values. So in that case, I will be selecting this column. I will go in remove rows option and I will select this remove duplicates option. So in this case, what it would do is it would just keep one value for each of that particular occurrence and it has removed all the other values. But this is not correct because if I want to do the analysis on these particular values, Now I won't be getting too much information because I have specifically one row for each. So this can be only done if you want to have some distinct values in a specific column. And if you're working with the data set of this kind, you won't be selecting a specific column. In that case, you would be only selecting a whole data set. So I will again remove this particular step. So this was the way in which you can remove the particular rows from your data set. Now let's say if I want to sort my data. Over here, I know this order date, and this contains the order date from 2011 to 2014. But the first row over here is showing me the data of 31st July 2012. And if I just scroll down, I can see 2011 in between. Then I can again see 2012 and 2014. That means that this data is not properly arranged in a sequential format. So what I will do is I will sort it. Now to sort it, I am having this two option of sorting in the ascending format and sorting in the descending format. So first I will use this sorting in the ascending format, and it would sort my values from lowest to highest order. So if I click on it, so after clicking on it, allow it some time, you can see that it is still doing it. Now I'm having the order dates from start of the January 2011 to whatever values would be present in my whole data set. If you want to just sort it in the descending format, what you can do is again you can click on this icon where it says Z to A with a down arrow. So if I click on this, it would sort the values from highest to lowest order. And now you can see the latest result over here. And the value it is showing is 31st of December 2014. So in this way, you can sort your data also, and you can see that whether or not any outliers are present also can be verified with the help of this particular option after sorting. So this was all for shaping your data. In the next session, we'll be talking about the transformation of the data, in which we'll be talking about the splitting of the particular columns, replacing the values, and changing the other data types and detecting it.